people are very worried about what is going to happen. Obviously, critical for them is what happens in the future in terms of supplies, military supplies, but also what happens if, for example, some sort of ceasefire was forced upon Ukraine, and what would happen to the territory currently held by Russia, and will more have to be given to Russia. So these are all the things that are worrying people about what has happened, because they just don't know how this is going to develop. I think it's interesting. I've been talking to the military a lot over the last few days. They point out that, look, there's a lot of talk, there's lots of discussion taking place, but we don't know what the future is. All we know at the moment is that we're in the midst of a war, and we're going to continue fighting whatever the politicians decide in the future. I would say, though, and this is something that I've taken away from my last few days of chats with them, is that the Ukrainian military is definitely in trouble. They're not getting the sort of supplies that they need. There's obviously concern that those supplies could dry up. I think a critical point is that they're simply running out of infantry. They're having to use American tanks in infantry manoeuvres just to support the men, because they just don't have enough, literally, bodies on the ground to carry out offensive attacks. Their defence is pretty good and well dug in, but they just have this massive problem with numbers of infantry. And that makes the supplies, particularly from the United States, the military supplies, absolutely vital for them. So it's quite gloomy sense, and we're getting reports that perhaps the Ukrainian positions in Kursk, that's in Russia, that they've held since August, could come under pressure from as many as 50,000 Russian and perhaps North Korean soldiers. There's reports that they are massing for an attack there. So that is really what the military are talking about, is, OK, we need to know where we're going, but we need the supplies as soon as possible. So it all adds to that sense of uncertainty that you feel here across the country, actually.
And Stuart, Russia launched a drone attack overnight. What's your sense of what's happening on the battlefield?
Well, those drone attacks are absolutely remarkable, to be honest. We were there on Saturday. It was the largest number of drones ever launched by Russia against Ukraine. Interestingly, on the same night, Ukraine also launched the largest number of drones against Russia as well, but it was minuscule in comparison to the Russians. We were with the air defence forces. Now, they're using very old-fashioned weapons to actually try and shoot these drones out of the sky. The unit we were with saying that they get about 30%, which is not great if you're trying to defend cities. And I have to say, we were in Sumy, the city. It is constantly attacked. People have got used to them, I suppose, but they're very scary, and they attack all of the major cities. And it's a sort of new development, this, in warfare, this use of drones, which all sides are using. But as I say, the problem for the Ukrainians is that they're trying to defend it with old weaponry, literally in fields, shooting what they can from the radar trackers that they have. And I say on the Saturday, when you had this large number of drones coming across, all of their tracking, they're sort of like iPads, are just absolutely full of the drone images coming towards the cities, passing overhead, and they, from these fields, over large areas, are firing into the sky, trying to knock them out. So it's a development within this particular war, and it's one that is very difficult to stop, and the Ukrainians are really struggling with that, just simply by the volume of these drones that are coming over and attacking, as I say, large numbers of cities across the country.